Hi, Joy Olson here of Blockbuster Fundraising. Well, happy Dog Days of August. Wow, we're here in Oregon and it is hot and smoky, but we had a fabulous eclipse experience this week and I hope you did too. Well, something rather exciting has happened to us here at Blockbuster, and I want to share the experience and the results with you. And it all has to do with a brand new nonprofit here in Oregon. And they've been around like a couple of years, but they're putting together something really spectacular. And they don't have a lot of development activity, although they're going after a megabucks to accomplish this project, which they're doing. But something really interesting happened, and it was a couple of weeks ago, and it looked like they were going to lose a $1 million grant. And it made the news. And it made the news the same day practically that they announced this lovely party for their supporters of $50,000 and up. Now, this announcement of the party for their supporters at the $50,000 level and up must have been in a press release, because the same words were said on TV as were echoed in the local newspaper. Well, this got me to thinking, not only as a development director, but as a $1,500 supporter of this particular nonprofit. Gee, I don't know. I feel like I should have been invited to a party too. That's a significant gift for me, a $1,500 one-time gift. And come to think of it, I haven't made another gift, and I haven't heard from them. And except when I got the tax record, and I think that was 2 years ago. Well, my friend that's associated with this particular nonprofit, not in the development capacity, I thought, I wonder if I should reach out to him and just say, hey, what's going on? And then almost immediately there was the possibility of them losing a $1 million grant. Well, my friend is very proactive and really understands government and getting things done, and they went and they got the $1 million grant back within a week. So they obviously had the support of, they said, at least 300 supporters that immediately wrote letters that they could take to the state to reinstate this grant. But they'd also said in their media release that they had over 2,000 supporters of this project that have made donations in the last couple of years. So I reached out to my friend and I said, hey, you know, I don't understand what's going on there, but number one, you need to be reaching out to us, though the rest of those 2,000 supporters, and build a relationship, because you want us to react when we see news like this, that you may lose a $1 million grant. We all want to react because we feel like we're a part of the project. After all, we're supporters too. But if we haven't heard from you for a year or so, well, we don't feel really very close to the project. And then if we see that you're having a party for only $50,000 gifts and above, we feel like, whoa, this is a pretty ritzy nonprofit for me. They probably don't need my little $1,000 donations. They're not going to help much. So I agonized a little bit about it because I really like this gentleman, and I realized he's not the executive director, and he's not the development director, and he's really never been involved in a nonprofit before. But so I did. I reached out through Facebook on Messenger, and I said, hey, I have some thoughts, and here's what they are. You have to understand how much I really like you as a friend, but this is from my 21 plus years in development. You got some work here to do. You need to talk to your peeps because this is not sitting well. So I immediately got a response, very welcoming response, and said, Joy, I've been feeling uncomfortable about this, and I've talked to the board and the people that the heads, and they feel like we just don't have the money to for development and for fundraising and for direct mail, and they don't really feel like it's necessary, and it wouldn't make a difference. And I wrote back immediately, and I said, I do not know who these people are that are giving you this kind of advice, but they obviously don't understand development, and they obviously don't understand relationships, and you really need to, I mean, you've got a really important year ahead of you, and some major fundraising to complete this project. It's on the road to completion, and you've got that $1 million grant back, and good for you. But now you need to at least sit down and make some calls. It is so important. Everyone wants to hear from you, and you've got a perfect reason to call. Well, guess what? Yesterday, I got a message from him, and he said, Joy, I can't even begin to tell you what a difference these calls are making. I can't believe it. And my board and the people involved here, the heads that be, want to jump on board and make these calls too. And I feel really gratified, of course, that it's working so well for him. But hey, I'm a development director. I've been an executive director. I've made, you and I both know telephone calls work. They build relationships. They are a wonderful way to communicate with the people that are supporters and donors. So that's what I want to talk a little bit today about. This is a perfect time for you to be reaching out to make some calls. And of course, I have some great ideas for those calls and the conversations. My main advice first to my friend on the calls was make sure that you, number one, have open-ended questions so that you get to know your supporters, get them talking. And number two, and it's almost number one, is listen, because it's going to make such a difference. And number three, take notes. So let's get started with open-ended questions, because I think that that is a real trick. Sometimes you get nervous on the phone and you talk, and you are not going to learn anything about your donor if you just keep up that nervous, warm chatter. You need to have some questions, some open-ended questions for your donors. Well, I found this wonderful white paper on the fine art of asking questions. And this, I shared this with my friend, and I want to share this with you today. So let's take a look at it. And I think that it's by Andrea Kilstead, and she says that the most important skill in making your calls is the ability to listen. Because she says we're much more likely to know what's in someone's mind when they are talking than when we're talking. Isn't that the truth? So the opportunity to listen arises more when we are good at asking questions. And we need to ask open-ended questions. So why are questions, I mean, why do they have so much power? A question demands an answer. It stimulates thinking. It gives us information. It puts us in control. And it opens your donors up. They want to tell you, they want to answer the questions. They want to tell you more about them. And this leads to quality listening. So you really need to understand open-ended questions, because you don't want to ask a closed-end question that they can just say yes or no. So don't say do you, are you, have you, because they can answer yes or no. But you want to have an open-ended question that begins with what, when, how, why, or where. And guess what? This requires your donor, your supporter, to elaborate on the answer. Now let's talk a little bit about value questions, because you want to understand your donor, your supporter. You want to understand their philanthropic motives. And to understand that, we need to ask value questions, and that often leads to personal sharing that helps us define the motive of their giving. So value questions perhaps can be phrased around asking your donor to talk about their heroes or their aspirations for their children or grandchildren, their personal goals or beliefs. And in asking your donors or your supporters value questions, you've got to be very careful not to overstep the bounds of your relationship. So be careful with this question. But a perfect question, it can be thought through, and you have it ready to go when you pick up the phone to call. All right, so we want to look at permission questions. Now, questions of this sort ask for approval to ask more questions. Now, this might be really important if somebody is talking to you about a bequest. As a development director, you get these calls, and somebody says, well, I'm interested in making a bequest. Can you give me some information? Well, a permission question perhaps might be, may I ask you about your estate plans? Or would you mind if I ask you a few questions? Or perhaps you've got a big capital campaign coming up. Would you be willing to talk with me about the possibility of making a lead gift to our organization? So you can see that questions of this sort, permission questions, are really helpful in moving a conversation or your solicitation to another stage. All right, well, perhaps you need to get to discovery questions. And this is like finding out facts or finding out feelings. For example, and this is a biggie, well, what brought about your interest in us? What has prompted you to continue your interest? Have you seen the changes in our organization? And how do you feel about those changes? What do you consider to be our primary mission, our primary purpose? And why do you feel this is important? How did you learn about this particular program? And how important do you feel this particular program is to an organization? You getting the drift here? You want to have these questions ready to go. Here's a great one. What other charitable organizations do you support? And what is your favorite charitable organization? Those should be lead questions. And then how about the donor, the relationship, your major gift donor that you've worked with? You have a wonderful relationship. Perhaps, how would you feel about this question? Have you ever considered putting us in your will? So, how do you feel about our seeking bequests for an endowment? All right, let's look at another type of question, a check-in question. Remember when we talked about talking so much yourself that you find it difficult to stop talking? And after all, you're calling to find out what your donor thinks. Well, checking questions provide a way to invite the other person, the donor, the supporter, to participate. So you could say, well, how does that seem to you? Or how would that apply in your case? Am I making myself clear? How would you feel if that happened? Do you agree with what I'm saying? All right. Okay, well, those are some good examples of different type questions that you can put in your scripting calls to think about. And you want to make note of those answers, because I don't think there's nothing more wonderful than feeling like somebody really wants your input. They really want to know what you think. But then the next time you talk to them and you get the feeling they don't even remember the conversation, that's not good. So take some notes. You know, there's another really important part to questions that Andrea points out, and those are non-questions. People often, your donors often have more to say than their initial response to your question. Okay? They've kind of just gotten started. And actually just getting started sparks kind of what they're really thinking. So continue the conversation by formulating a statement that uses the information they've given you. All right? You want to kind of sum up what they've said. Your restatement of what they said might reflect the content or feelings or both. Want an example? Well, for example, Andrea gives us this. I can tell you're excited about the possibility of the new school. Or, I sense that you have reservations about such and such coming up. Okay, you're getting the picture here. You're getting ready for this great phone call and questions. Well, how about topics for questions? Okay, we're generally interested in knowing about key areas of our donor's life, and this could include their family, their heritage, their children, their grandchildren, their lifestyle. Where do they like to vacation? What are their hobbies? This is so important. I really found as a stockbroker, especially when I was building a relationship with my donors, I loved knowing about their hobbies, because you know why? I was at the computer all day long, and I was seeing every bit of news that came in on everything. And guess what? If I knew somebody's hobbies or interests and I would see a news blurb, I could immediately email them, message them, call them. So the more you know about what your donors really care about, the easier it is to build a relationship, because you can see something, you say, oh, I know they'd appreciate this. They are really interested in this. This is going to be news that they're going to love. All right, well then, lots of times too, especially in capital campaigns, you want to get into the education, the college. Sometimes that can be really interesting. And a lot of reasons that can be really interesting is as you work forward, you can pair up someone on your board that's graduated from the same college, etc., etc. You get that. Their values and their heroes, their hopes and their aspirations. And business, their occupation, and philanthropy. I think this is terribly important for development. I mean, we really need to know who they're giving to, why, what their giving history is, because this is, after all, we're in the giving business. We are in the business of philanthropy. All right, body language, if you're with them, this is really important. You want to make frequent eye contact. You want to keep your body oriented towards them. You want to nod your head. You want to use personal phrases like, yeah, that's interesting, I see. And they said, don't fold your arms in front of you if you want a warm and fuzzy conversation. Well, this is really fun to talk about, all these good questions, and of course we want to stress again, good listening. Okay, you really want them to feel like you have a sincere interest in their way of life, and that you really care and value their time, and what they have to say is making a big difference to you. And I think that you're going to have a wonderful, effective relationship. Take this time in August. I mean, you've got a little respite here. We all feel it. And sometimes I find at the end of August, sometimes it's tough to get motivated in the day. And you're a little bit wishy-washy about what you're going to do that day. Sit down and start off the day by making some calls. Say, I'm going to make at least 5 to 7 phone calls today, and talk to yourself. Are they open-ended questions? Are they value questions? What am I going to find out? Am I going to take notes? I mean, just get excited about this project. And I think you're going to be like my friend who messaged me this morning. He's messaged me twice now. Joy, I just can't believe the response we're getting from these calls. So it's a great time to reach out, show interest, show gratitude. Just be happy that your supporters are there, and I think you're going to end up your August in a very positive way. Lots of great momentum to get ready for fall fundraising. Hey, it's Joy Olson of Blockbuster Fundraising. So happy to be here with you today. I hope that you've had a wonderful summer. And if you want more great fundraising tips and look forward to our fall fundraising festival, please know that you can find us at joyolsongroup.com, blockbusterfundraising.com, and we have hundreds of free fundraising video tips on our YouTube channel. So thanks for having been here today. Pick up that phone and make some calls. I'd love to hear from you. Bye-bye.